Good morning. This is Dennis Miracle, and today I'm going to be making what I'm calling the Star of Bethlehem purse. And what you will need is you will need 2 pieces of exterior fabric cut 7 by 11, and I'm going to be using this fabric here, beautiful Asian inspired fabric. You will need you'll need 2 pieces of fabric for the front, one for the applique and one for the main fabric. This will be the main fabric, and I'm using this piece of vinyl as my applique fabric. So I've cut it 7 by 11 just for convenience since I've cut everything else. And then you'll need, you need a front and a back of the main fabric, and then an applique fabric for the front. And then you need 2 pieces of lining cut 7 by 11, and you need a piece of batting cut 7 by 11. And of course this is for the 6 by 10 design and the 6 by 10 hoop. And then you need another piece of batting that is cut actually 6 by 11. And you'll need a zipper, and I've measured this zipper. It is 14 inches long. And I'm going to be adding my connectors also, which I'm using grosgrain ribbon today, cut 3 inches long. And I put a key ring in the center, fold it over, and staple it at the top to hold it together. And so I think that's all you need. And let me set this stuff aside for the moment. And then I've already run my first step here, and the thread is gold because of the gold accents in the main fabric. I'm going to be using a gold thread. And the first thing we need to do, run your first step, and I use paper towel as my stabilizer. I'm not recommending that. I'm not telling you you need to use it. That's what I use. If you want to use it, fine. If not, fine. It's, you can use a no-show mesh. That's what I would ordinarily use if I wasn't using a paper towel. But anyhow, you can see that I have run my first step here, and then the next thing to do is to put on the zipper. So I have created this design to accommodate a 1-inch number 3 zipper, and it will fit right between the top line here and this bottom line. So just stick your zipper down. If it's 1 inch wide, it fit perfectly. And then we're going to tape it down at the top. And at the bottom. And then a little piece I put in the center right here. Okay. And I'm going to put this back in the machine, and it's going to sew this down. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, I have sewn the zipper down. The machine did sew this down, and it's fine. Looks good. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the hoop over to the back side. And I'm going to take my first piece of lining, and if you look at this, you'll see basically there are 4 lines, the top outer boundary of the bag, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to place it's going to stitch along this 3rd line down, so I'm going to place my piece of lining fabric right at the edge of this bottom line. That'll give that distance between lines 3 and 4 as your 1/4 inch seam. So place your, let's see, that's the top there. So place it face down. Now that one's cut a little weird. Okay, face down, and make sure you're okay on the sides also, centered between the sides. And take your tape and put one on each side. And then I put one here in the middle also. And then pick the hoop up and let the piece of lining just fall over to the front. And then take this piece of lining and fold it over several times and take a piece of tape and tape it here to the frame, because we're not going to need this for a number of steps. It needs to stay right where it's at and out of the way. And then take your first piece of main fabric and see if there's a right. Okay, let's see, which is the, well, I would take it, that's maybe the right side. I'm not sure. Let me see if this other one is any easier to tell. I would think this would be the right side. So you're going to take it and just roll it over like this, and then center it. Now you're on the the zipper, so you can see where you should be placing this. You should place this piece of fabric right at the edge of the zipper, centered between the two exterior lines, and tape it down. All right, and then take this to the embroidery machine, and it will sew next to a line of stitching right where my finger is going, which will secure the front and the back pieces of fabric. So go ahead and do that, and I'll do the same and be right back. Okay, now let me check first. I have had this stitched down. Let me see if the back is, yes, the back is fine. Always check your back side, the back of the hoop also, to make sure that it didn't come loose at the last second, but it didn't. It stitched it down fine. And here on the front of the hoop, it's also did a great job. So the next thing you need to do is take the one piece of batting I told you was 6 by 11 and place it right a 1/4 inch or so below the seam line here, and then take and fold your main fabric down. And let me see, I'm gonna put down this little wash rag here, and I'm gonna press this down. I'm not gonna, since this has this gold on here, the gold will stick to the iron possibly, so I'm gonna use this, what I'm using as a pressing towel. So let me do that, and just give it a little press here to hopefully have a crisp edge here at the top. So that should, well, it would have been crisp had I not moved it. Okay, no, it's fine. Okay, I like to have it a crisp edge right here where it is at the top, this piece of fabric. And so you're going to take and stick this back in the machine, and it's going to run a stitch that goes right below where my finger's at, all around the 4 sides, and we'll tack this down because we're going to start our applique, and then probably some quilting because there are 2 different areas of quilting. So anyhow, go ahead and put this back in the machine and run this next step, which would be step 4. So I'll be right back. Okay, I ran step 4, and you can see it's been stitched down, and so everything will be held in place. Now the next thing we need to do is, actually I could have left this in the machine because it's going to run step 5, which is a placement, the placement lines for the star itself. So put it back in the machine and run step 5, and I'll be right back. All right, as you can hopefully see here in gold, the star has been, the outline of the star has been placed. And now we're going to take whatever your fabric is you're using for your applique. Like I said, I'm going to use this vinyl, this cream colored vinyl from my applique to go with the cream color in the flowers here. And so just and of course you can see that it's probably what, 6 inches wide. So I just cut everything. I have a template that is was made for me that is 7 by 11 and 6. Since I do all these 6 by 10 bags, I just cut everything the same except for the one piece of batting which we place down. I cut everything 7 by 11. It's just easier. So I know it probably wastes fabric and vinyl, but it's just a convenience thing for me. So anyhow, place this in your machine, and this is going to, the machine will then sew this down, sew the star down, and then after it does that, I'm going to be taking it to the table where I can sit, or maybe I can, well, I could just sit here, and I'm going to be trimming the star. But anyhow, I'll show you that. So let me do this next, number 6, this next step. I'll be right back. Okay, I just ran step 6, and you can see that it ran the, tacked down the fabric and did it quite well. It went around several times to make sure it's tacked down and won't be coming up. So anyhow, I'm going to take now and go and use my applique scissors, and I'm going to stop and trim this all around. Try not to cut the stitches, but if you do, it's not the end of the world. And after I do that, I'll be right back. Okay, you can see I have now trimmed the star, and it's going to look really nice, I think. And so now the next step is the first of the quilting steps, which is going to quilt inside the star itself, which I'm going to run right now, which will be step number 7. So let me do that, and I'll be back in a moment. All right, it has just ran step 7, which is the internal part of the star, the center part of the star, or internal part of the star, really, the quilting for the star itself. Now, there is step 8 is quilting also. It is for everything other than the star, but I'm not going to run that. That's generally the way I don't run both, personally. I think I always put a solid color in the center, and I will put quilting on it, but I don't want to detract from the beauty of this fabric, which is just really incredible beauty to me. So anyhow, I'm going to skip step 8 and go to step 9, which is the will be the satin stitch for the star. So I will put it back in the machine, and the star then will be, all these ugly raw parts will be gone. It'll be covered with satin stitch. So let me do that, and I'll be back in a moment. All right, I ran the satin stitches. I think it looks really very nice. I'm very pleased with it. And the next thing we need to do for step 10 is we need to finally take off this what is holding the fabric back, the lining fabric, the first piece of lining, and turn the hoop over to the back and take off these pieces here on the sides also, and fold down the back lining piece and tape it down right here at the bottom corners. Tape it down because we're going to run the next step. We'll sew this lining down. So go ahead and run step 10, which will sew the lining down, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've just taken the hoop out of the machine, and let me turn it over and see. Yes, it's fine. It looks great. All right, turning back to the front, we're going to take the tape from the zipper area. Come on off. Okay, and we're going to open the zipper about 3/4 of the way, and then I'm going to attach my well, where did they go? There's one under there. I'm going to attach my pieces, my little connectors, to the front here. And of course I can only find one, so I always put these connectors about 1 inch in, and I use this line here of stitching as a way to as a reference line. So I'm going to put the top of my key ring on this line of stitching here, and I'm going to take, that's about 1 inch in. I just eyeball it. I'm going to take and tape it down at the top. And also make sure you tape this metal piece down, or it will get somewhere you don't want it to be. And I'm going to turn off the camera and find the other connector, and I'll be right back. All right, as you can see, I did find the other connector and I have attached it. So we have both connectors attached. We have the zipper open, which is extremely important. And then we're going to take what's going to be the back side of our bag, which is going to be the same beautiful material. And I couldn't figure out before, which is the top and the bottom, and I can't figure out now, but I think this might be the correct orientation. And I'm just going to turn it over. That way it stays in the same orientation, and I'm going to place it right over what's already there, but I'm going to make sure that I'm at least a 1/4 inch over the zipper, pass up this way, up as you see my finger going on the boundary, up the upper boundary of the zipper. So I'm going to make sure I'm a 1/4 inch up past that, which I am. I'm going to then take my second piece of second piece of batting and place it down, and I'm going to put this back in the machine, and it is going to make sure it is going to sew this down on all 4 sides up here above the zipper, or right at the edge of the zipper. So anyhow, make sure your zipper is opened. That's the most important thing for this step, is making sure your zipper is open. So let me do that and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I ran step 11. As you can see, it has sewn this down on all 4 sides. And then the last step, step number 12, you should have 1 piece of fabric left, and that would be your lining fabric, your second piece of lining. So turn the hoop over to the back and and as you did with this last piece of fabric on the front, place your lining face down, covering what is already there, this piece of lining, and again, make sure you are at least a 1/4 inch above the zipper lines here. So take and tape that down on all 4 sides. Put it in the machine and run the last step, which is step 12. Now what this is going to do is leave a gap where my fingers are pointing right here. This will be a gap, this whole area here, so you can turn the bag. So go ahead and do that, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, I've just finished running the last step, step 12. Let me turn it over and make sure that it did what I think it did. Yes, it did, and it left this gap here, and then it basically traced the step 11, except for leaving this gap at the bottom. So now we need to take this out of the hoop. So loosen your hoop and take this piece out. Alrighty, there's that. And then take whatever, now I cut from the lining side so I can see what I'm doing better. So take your good scissors that will cut through multiple layers and go in, start on this side and go in at an angle and just cut right in here to where the stitching starts, and then turn your scissors and cut all around, leaving about a 1/4 inch out. Leave a 1/4 inch excess from the seam line, and of course this always happens. You don't end up getting it all and have to go back. So anyhow, trace this around, leaving this 1/4 inch. Okay, that looks good. Okay, that looks good. And come around to this last, where the stitching stops, or actually starts depending on your perspective, and take and cut again at an angle and remove this. There it removed itself, and then throw this away. There's nothing here to be kept or salvaged, so just throw that away. And then you should be looking here, looking at the lining, you see the two pieces of lining. One is always going to be shorter than the other, or at least in the way I make it, they are. And so you see the rest of this batting and extra pieces, all of this can be cut off. And so take and cut it as close as you can without cutting these two pieces of lining pieces off. Just get rid of this excess fabric and batting because you don't need it. And let me see if there's anything here to be salvaged. No, usually I have a piece of vinyl that can be salvaged, but not this time. Okay, that's fine. So at this point you want to take and turn your bag out for the first time, because you're going to do it again shortly. All right. Okay. Now, I'm going to, while I'm looking at it, use my snippers and remove some of these little pieces. This can be done later, I guess, but I just like to do it now. Okay. Okay, and what I do is I take this side, looking at the where you see the shorter side of the lining first, you take and fold that in slightly and take your iron and just run the iron over that quickly and it will stay. And then take your other piece and make sure you tuck these tab pieces in like I'm doing, and that'll help hold it in. And run your iron over this to help hold it together, because now you're going to take this to the sewing machine and you need to put a line of stitches to close this gap up. So just run a line of stitches right along through here and close this gap up. So let me do that and I'll be back in a moment. All right, you can see I have now sewn this down, so the bag is now closed up. Actually, on this side. That was this side. Okay, but it's in any event, take your snippers and snip off any excess from that sewing. Here we have a little piece. Okay, that looks good. Now one of the last things we need to do is remove this piece of whatever you used. Like I say, I used paper towels, but take and trim this off from the zipper area and it should come off pretty easily, hopefully. Well, this one's not going to be. Okay, I'm just using my fingernail, which isn't much of a fingernail because I cut them real close. So take and remove that whatever you used for stabilizer. Remove that from the back of your zipper. And there we are. Okay, well that's fine for now. I might come back later and take a little more off. I generally leave this up here, but because it's held down by two lines of stitches, but you might want to remove this also, this paper towel here. So anyhow, now let's see what we've made. Let's open our zipper as wide as we can, and let's reach in, and first we're going to grab those pieces of tape that held down. There's the first of them. Let me see the other one. And I feel it. There it is. Okay, there's the two pieces of tape that held the metal down. And turn the bag out. And let's see how this has come out. Okay. 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 All right, let me close close this up. That closes fine. And now what I do is I'll take the iron and just let me put my pressing cloth over it. I don't want to ruin my vinyl, so just very quickly run over it with your iron. Okay, now let me turn it over. Okay, that looks good. And let me stick the pressing cloth back on there. And all right, that's good enough. That's fine. All right, now that's what we have. I think it turned out very well. I'm pleased with it. That's the Star of Bethlehem purse that we've just completed, and I want to thank you for joining me to watch me make this bag. And I also want to thank all of those who continue to support my designs and encourage me. I appreciate that so much. And so this is what you have, the Star of Bethlehem bag. So thank you again, and have a great day. And I'll be back in a day or two with, or maybe might be a week or so, with another design and tutorial. Alrighty, have a good day. Bye-bye.